At my dad's medical gala, he introduced me as just a preschool babysitter. Everyone laughed until the Harper Foundation chair took the mic. Interesting, let me tell you who his daughter really is. Better sit. I'm standing on stage at the Grand Plaza Hotel with 300 people in evening suits and dresses sitting in the hall, and my father has just called me a nanny in front of all his colleagues. Laughter ripples through the room, and I feel my cheeks burning with embarrassment. But the worst is yet to come. Let me rewind to a year ago. 24 years old, a college degree with honors in mathematics and computer science with analytics, and a teaching minor. A bunch of dreams about how I would teach children to love numbers and logic. Sounds perfect, right? Only the reality turned out to be not so rosy. 6 months of job hunting. 6 long months of submitting resumes to every school in the district, going to interviews where I was told, "We'll call you," and then silence. Or worse, offers to work for a salary that would barely cover the rent for a room. I remember that interview at St. Patrick's Middle School. The principal, a fat man with a bald spot, barely glanced at my resume. "No work experience, I see." And you're 24. Too young. The kids won't respect you. But I had the highest grades in teaching methodology. I did my internship with honors. An internship is one thing, but a real job is quite another. Besides, we already have a candidate with 10 years of experience. It was the same everywhere. Either I was too young or not experienced enough, or the salary was ridiculous. $1,500 a month for a full-time math teacher is a joke, not an offer. That's when I saw the ad. Assistant teacher needed at Sunshine Kindergarten. Experience working with children is welcome, but not required. Salary is $2,000 a month. It wasn't much, but at least it was something. I convinced myself that it was temporary, that I would gain experience working with children, that it was a step toward a real teaching career. The kindergarten director, Mrs. Thornton, an elderly woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a tired face, hired me after a 15-minute interview. "You have a teaching degree, that's wonderful," she said, leafing through my resume in her cramped office, cluttered with files and children's drawings. Most of our girls didn't even finish high school properly. Some don't know how much 2 + 3 is. You'll be working with a group of 5-year-olds alongside Mrs. Jenkins. What exactly will my duties be? The same as the main teacher. The only difference is the salary and the fact that you're formally listed as an assistant. But the children don't care. To them, you're just Miss Wendy. And here I am, 6 months later. Every morning at 7:30, I arrive at the brightly painted yellow and green house on Maple Street, where 25 children aged 3 to 5 spend their days. I help them eat, play with them, read stories, wipe their noses and tears, resolve conflicts over toys, and teach them letters and numbers. Officially, I am listed as an assistant teacher, but in reality, I do the same work as the main teacher, Mrs. Jenkins, who spends more time smoking behind the house than with the children. During this time, I have grown to love my group little Emma with curly red hair, who always asks, "Why?" to every sentence I say, quiet Jacob, who hides behind my skirt when strangers come. Energetic Tyler, who can't sit still for a second. I know all their parents. I know which children are afraid of the dark and which ones don't eat green vegetables. The hardest part is explaining this to my family. Today is Thursday, 7 p.m., and I'm sitting at the familiar wooden table in my parents' house on Oak Avenue. This table remembers me as a child, doing my homework here while my mom cooked dinner. Now I come here every week for family dinner, although it's more like an interrogation than a pleasant conversation. Mom, as always, has set the table for 4, even though we rarely all get together. Dad is always busy at the clinic. Matthew often has patients in the evening, and I just try to avoid these gatherings. The smell of her signature chicken casserole fills the kitchen, and for a moment I feel like a child again. "Well, tell me, how's work?" Father Hercod cuts the meat without even looking up at me. A gray suit, neatly combed hair with a streak of gray at the temples, gold-rimmed glasses, He looks like he just stepped out of his office. In fact, he did. Even at home, he rarely relaxes. I swallow a piece of casserole, trying to buy some time. Everything's fine. The kids are cute, although sometimes I get tired. Today we studied geometric shapes, and tomorrow we plan to... Matthew had 3 psychotherapy sessions today. My father interrupts me, turning to my older brother, and 2 more are scheduled for tonight. Tell Wendy about that difficult patient with depression. Without the details, of course. Matthew, 27 years old, dark hair, neat beard, soft features, smiles modestly. He has always been Dad's favorite. Smart, calm, obedient. No need to go into details, Dad. Patient confidentiality, he says. But there is satisfaction in his voice at the praise. Just a difficult case. I had to use cognitive behavioral therapy. Of course, of course. I'm just proud of how responsibly you treat your work. A true professional. In 2 years, you'll be able to open your own practice. Mom Lita gives me more casserole, even though I didn't ask for it. She always tries to smooth things over when Dad starts making comparisons. 52 years old, light brown hair with gray streaks that she carefully dyes, a gentle disposition, and a habit of avoiding conflict. "How are you, dear?" she asks quietly. "I'm fine, too. Last week, the children and I learned colors through interactive games, and yesterday I helped a boy named Tommy learn to count to 10. He's so smart." Her father snorts, putting down his fork. "Counting to 10. Wendy, you have a degree in mathematics and computer science. You could be teaching at a university, working as an analyst at a major company, developing software. But instead, What do you actually do? Clean up after little kids? Play with dolls?" My cheeks burn again. I grip my fork tighter, feeling my nails dig into my palms. I don't just clean up. I help children develop, teach them the basics of math, reading, social interaction. Teach? My father puts down his knife and looks at me over his glasses as if I've said something absurd. "Wendy, nanny is not a profession. It's a job for people who couldn't find anything serious. It's a temporary gig for students, not a career for an educated adult woman. You wasted 4 years in college if you're now changing diapers for 5-year-olds. "I don't change diapers," I say through clenched teeth, trying to hold back my anger. "This is a kindergarten, not a nursery. 5-year-olds go to the toilet by themselves. What's the difference? It's the same thing. You're babysitting instead of their parents. It's not teaching, it's not education. It's babysitting." Matthew coughs awkwardly, glancing between me and his father. Maybe Wendy just needs time to find something suitable. The job market is tough right now. Time? Dad turns sharply to his son, then back to me. "How much time?" "She's been doing this for 6 months now." This job," I finish, which, by the way, is very important. Preschool education is the foundation for all further learning. It is at this age that... The foundation for what? Wendy, stop deceiving yourself with lofty words. You're working as a nanny because you couldn't find a real job. At least admit it to yourself. Look at Matthew. He has a real profession, helps people solve serious problems, earns decent money. Silence hangs over the table, heavy and unpleasant. Mom nervously adjusts her napkin. Matthew studies the pattern on his plate. "By the way," Dad suddenly changes his tone to a more solemn one, "I wanted to let you know. In 4 days, on Saturday, our medical association's annual gala will take place. This year, it's dedicated to raising funds for a new wing at the Children's Hospital. The best doctors in the county will be there, as well as representatives from charitable foundations. I invite you all to attend." Matthew immediately nods. "Of course I'll be there." It's an important event. Will Dr. Reynolds be there? I'd like to talk to him about new treatments for anxiety disorders. He will. And he won't be the only one. It's a great networking opportunity. "What about you, Wendy?" Dad looks at me expectantly. I think about Saturday. I usually stay late at the nursery on Saturdays, preparing materials for the following week, tidying up toys, and planning lessons. Mrs. Thornton allows me to use the space free of charge, and I appreciate the quiet and the opportunity to work peacefully without the noise of children. I have important work to do, I say. My father bursts out laughing, so loudly and unexpectedly that my mother flinches and almost drops her glass. Important things? At the kindergarten? On Saturday? He wipes his eyes with a napkin. Wendy, what important things could there be? Washing toys? Sharpening colored pencils? Disinfecting potty chairs? Saturday, 6 p.m. I stand in front of the mirror in my bedroom, looking at myself in my only party dress. A simple black one I bought a year ago for my college graduation. It seemed elegant then, but now it looks cheap compared to what the other guests will be wearing. In the end, I decided to go anyway. Not because I wanted to spend the evening listening to conversations about medicine and watching my father brag about Matthew to his colleagues. It's just that my mother called last night. Sweetheart, please come. It's important to your father. He's really looking forward to us all being there together. Her voice sounded so tired that I couldn't refuse. My mother always found herself in the middle of our arguments with my father, trying to reconcile us all. The Grand Plaza Hotel is impressively luxurious. Marble columns, crystal chandeliers, carpets as thick as my palm. The huge banquet hall is furnished with round tables for 10 people each, covered with white tablecloths. On the stage, there is a podium with a microphone, and next to it is a large screen for presentations. People are dressed expensively and tastefully. Men are in tuxedos or expensive suits. Women are in cocktail dresses from famous designers, with diamond jewelry sparkling in the light of the chandeliers. I feel like Cinderella, who got to the ball without her fairy godmother. I find our table. Number 7. My father is already here, talking to a tall, gray-haired man about new methods of dental implantation. He is wearing a new tuxedo, which probably cost more than my monthly salary. Mom is sitting next to him in a burgundy dress that I have seen in her closet for years. Matthew, as always, looks impeccable. His black suit fits him perfectly. Here she is. My father notices me. My younger daughter, Wendy. The gray-haired man, whom my father introduces as Dr. Miller, nods politely. Wonderful. And what does Miss Wendy do? I feel myself tensing up, waiting for my father's answer. Oh, she works with children, he says, a hint of irony in his voice. Dr. Miller raises his eyebrows with interest. Pediatrics? A wonderful specialty. No, my father smiles. She works in a nursery. She looks after the little ones. Dr. Miller's smile becomes less sincere. Oh, I see. And I see in his eyes the same attitude I always see. A slight contempt, disappointment, as if I have let everyone down simply by existing. The evening drags on slowly. First, there's a cocktail party where everyone stands in groups and discusses work. I try to keep smiling while my father introduces me to the next doctor or hospital administrator. Each time, the reaction is the same. First polite interest, then disappointment when it turns out that I just work in a kindergarten. Then a 5-course dinner, during which I silently eat salmon and listen to conversations about complex operations and medical conferences. Matthew talks about a new method of treating phobias, receiving approving nods and interested questions. I sit silently, like a piece of furniture. Finally, it's time for the speeches. The head of the Medical Association, Dr. Winston, talks about the importance of charity. Then, an architect comes out and shows the plans for the new wing of the hospital. People applaud. Some take notes in their notebooks. And now, says Dr. Winston, returning to the microphone, let our esteemed colleagues introduce their families. After all, our work would be impossible without the support of our loved ones. One by one, the doctors take the stage. Dr. Miller introduces his wife, an architect, and his son, a lawyer. Dr. Johnson boasts about his daughter, who graduated from medical school and now works as a surgeon. All the children are successful. All have prestigious professions. Then it's the father's turn. Hercode Brooks, please come up on stage, announces Dr. Winston. The father stands up, adjusts his tie, and walks confidently to the podium. He is in his element. The attention of hundreds of people is focused on him. "Good evening, colleagues," he begins, his voice clear thanks to the microphone. "As you know, my dental clinic has been serving our community for 15 years. But today I want to talk not about work, but about family." He points to our table. "This is my beautiful wife, Lyda, who keeps our home and supports me in everything." Mom blushes and waves her hand. Applause. "My son Matthew is a talented psychotherapist who works at my clinic and helps patients with not only physical but also psychological problems. In 2 years, he will open his own practice." More applause. Matthew stands up and bows. I see pride in his eyes. And finally, my father pauses, and I feel my heart skip a beat. My youngest daughter, Wendy. Everyone turns to me. 300 pairs of eyes are looking in my direction. I try to smile. "Wendy is in kindergarten," my father says, and there is light laughter in the room. "Essentially, she's a nanny." The laughter grows louder, not malicious but indulgent, as if the father had told a cute anecdote about a naive child playing grown-up games. I sit there, feeling my face burn with embarrassment. 300 people are laughing at me, at my work, my life, my dreams. My father smiles, enjoying the reaction. As they say, someone has to look after our future patients while they are still young. Another burst of laughter. But suddenly, someone stands up, a tall man in his 60s, with gray hair and piercing blue eyes. He was sitting at table number 1, right under the stage, the place of honor. "Excuse me," he says, his voice carrying clearly across the hall without a microphone. "May I say something?" Dr. Winston looks at him in surprise. "Of course, Mr. Harper. Please come to the microphone. Harper, Robert Harper. I know that name. Head of the Harper Charitable Foundation, one of the largest in the state. What is he doing here? And why did he stand up when my father was talking about me?" Robert Harper slowly approaches the stage. My father steps back but remains nearby, smiling uncertainly. "An interesting presentation, Dr. Brooks," Harper says into the microphone. "Now let me tell everyone here who your daughter really is." "You'd better sit down." My father turns pale but doesn't move. "My granddaughter, Sophia, attends Sunshine Kindergarten," Harper continues. "For the past 6 months, I have been observing the work of Miss Wendy Brooks." The room fell completely silent. Even the waiters stopped clearing the tables. "My granddaughter is a special child. She has autism, and the previous 3 kindergartens were unable to cope with her. They said she didn't learn, didn't communicate, just sat in the corner and rocked back and forth." I remember Sophia, a quiet girl with huge brown eyes who did indeed sit apart from the other children for a long time. Mrs. Jenkins said there was nothing that could be done with her. But I saw how Sophia watched the other children, how she was interested in the toys, but didn't dare to approach them. "Wendy was the only one who didn't give up," Harper continues. "She developed an individual program for Sophia. She used visual cards and created a safe space where the child could gradually adapt. Her heart beats so loudly that it seems to be heard throughout the room. In 3 months, Sophia began to say individual words. In 5 months, she began to form sentences. Now she plays with other children, learns to count and read. Doctors say this is incredible progress. I remember the day Sophia said hello to another child for the first time, how her eyes lit up when she realized she was being understood." "Last month," says Harper, "I asked an independent panel of education experts to evaluate Miss Brooks' work. They were amazed. Her father is still standing nearby, but his expression has changed. The smile is gone. Wendy has developed a unique method for working with special children that combines elements of mathematical logic, information technology, and psychology. She has created a visual learning system that helps children with different needs grasp complex concepts. There are murmurs of surprise in the room. People turn to me, but now there is curiosity in their eyes, not contempt. That's why," Harper pauses, looking directly at me, An hour ago, I signed the documents for a grant from the Harper Foundation to the Sunshine Kindergarten, $2 million over 3 years, in the name of Wendy Brooks as project manager. The room erupts in a buzz of excitement. People stand up, turn to me, applaud. I sit there, unable to believe what I'm hearing. "What's more," Harper continues, raising his hand to quiet the room, "starting Monday, Miss, Brooks will be appointed acting director of the kindergarten. Mrs. Thornton is taking a well-deserved retirement, and the board of directors has unanimously decided that Wendy should lead the institution." I can't breathe. $2,000 a month plus a $2 million grant. The position of director. Recognition of my work in front of 300 of the most respected people in town. "This is who your daughter is, Dr. Brooks," Harper says, looking at my father. "Not a nanny. An innovative educator who is changing children's lives." The applause lasts for several minutes. People come up to me, shake my hand, congratulate me. Some say they heard about me from parents they know. Some ask about my methods. My father sits down silently and says almost nothing for the rest of the evening. When we leave the hotel, he finally speaks. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Tell you what?" "About this child. About your methods. About the fact that you're being watched. I stop under a streetlight near the entrance. Would you have listened? Or would you have said again that I'm just playing at being a nanny?" He is silent. "I tried to tell you about my work, but you never listened. To you, I was always a failure who couldn't find a real profession." Mom takes my hand. "Sweetheart, we're proud of you. We just didn't understand." "You didn't understand because you didn't want to understand." For the first time in my life, I feel truly confident. Not because of money or position, because my work has meaning, because I'm really helping children. "Wendy," my father finally looks me in the eye. "I dot. Don't say anything now. Think about it first." I get in my car and drive away, leaving them standing under the streetlight. In the rearview mirror, I see Dad saying something to Mom and Matthew patting him on the shoulder. But I don't care anymore. For the first time in a long time, I know who I am. Monday, 8 a.m. I stand in front of the door to the principal's office, now my office, with the keys in my hand. My heart is beating so fast it's like I'm about to jump out of a plane. Everything has changed dramatically over the weekend. I open the door and go inside. The office is small but cozy. A wooden desk, 2 chairs for visitors, a bookcase filled with teaching materials and children's drawings. On the walls hang photos of kindergarten graduates from the last 10 years. On the table is a note from Mrs. Thornton. "Dear Wendy, you can do better than me. Trust yourself. With love, Margaret." 15 minutes later, David Coleman knocks on the door. 42 years old, of average height, thinning hair, with a permanently dissatisfied expression on his face. He's been working here as deputy director for 8 years and was obviously counting on taking Mrs. Thornton's place. "Wendy," he says, walking in without permission and sitting down in the chair opposite me. "I think we need to discuss the current situation." "Good morning, David." "Please sit down." He ignores my irony. "I've been working here for 8 years. I know all the procedures, all the problems, all the parents. You, even with your grant, have only worked as an assistant teacher." I put down my pen and look at him. "I understand your point of view, but the board's decision is final. If you're willing to work as part of a team, that's great. If not, I understand." "Team?" he snorts. "You don't even know how to write reports for the education department, how to allocate the budget, how to resolve conflicts with parents. Then help me learn. Or find yourself another job." He stands up, clearly dissatisfied with my directness. "We'll see how long you last." As he leaves, I realize that the problems are just beginning. The next 2 weeks are spent in a whirlwind of new responsibilities. I have to study financial reports, meet with parents, and organize the work of the staff. The grant from the Harper Foundation offers incredible opportunities, but also enormous responsibility. I start with the most necessary thing, updating the equipment. We replace old furniture in the classrooms, buy new educational toys, and install interactive whiteboards. The children are thrilled, especially when I show them how to draw with their fingers on the touchscreen. But the most important thing is developing a new educational program. I use my knowledge of mathematics and computer science to create a system that helps children with different needs. For Sophia and other special children, there are visual cards and structured tasks. For gifted children, there are more complex logic problems. For those who have difficulty concentrating, there are game-based methods. The results are not long in coming. Parents are beginning to notice their children's progress. Some say that their daughter read a word on her own for the first time. Some are delighted that their son has learned to count to 20, but David doesn't give up. He constantly finds reasons to be dissatisfied. Either I fill out the paperwork incorrectly, or I spend the grant money too quickly, or I violate traditional methods. "Wendy, you bought toys that are too expensive," he says, walking into my office with another complaint. "That money could have paid for a month's worth of daycare." These are educational materials based on a special method. They will pay for themselves with the results. Parents are complaining that their children come home overexcited from all these new things. Which parents? Give me specific names. He fidgets, unable to name a single one. A month after my appointment, my father unexpectedly calls. "Wendy, how are things in your new job?" His tone is friendly, interested, not at all like it used to be. "Everything's fine, Dad. Thanks for asking. I was wondering if you might need some help. Advice on management, finances? This is strange. He used to think my job wasn't serious, and now he's offering help." "Thanks, but I'm managing fine for now." "But you're managing a large budget. $2 million is a lot of money. You have to manage it wisely. I have a detailed spending plan that has been approved by the foundation. A plan is one thing. Reality is another. Maybe you should cut some expenses. Focus on the essentials." Something in his tone alarms me. "Dad, why are you suddenly interested in the details of my budget? I'm just worried about you. I don't want you to make a mistake and lose the trust of the foundation." After the conversation, I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. My father has never been interested in the details of my work, and now he suddenly wants to know about every expense. The next day, David comes back with more complaints. "Wendy, I hear you're planning to hire an additional specialist to work with special needs children. That's an excessive expense." "Who told you that?" "That's information from a closed board meeting." He fidgets. "Just rumors." "David, where did you get information about our internal plans?" "I've been working here longer than you. I have my sources." That evening, my mother calls me. "Honey, your father said you were talking about your job." "We were." "Why?" "He's very worried. He says you're spending the grant money too quickly. He's afraid you might have problems." "Mom, I'm spending the money strictly according to plan. I have to report to the foundation." "I know, dear. But Dad has experience in business. Maybe you should listen to him." A week later, the situation escalates. David begins spreading rumors among parents about unwise spending and experiments on children. Someone complains to the education department about radical changes in the educational program. I realize that someone is coordinating this campaign. David is not smart enough to organize so many problems at once on his own. The answer comes unexpectedly. On Thursday evening, I stay late at the kindergarten, preparing a report for the foundation. Around 9 o'clock, I hear the front door open, which is strange, because the building should be closed. I look out of my office and see David talking on the phone in the hallway. Hey, yes, she doesn't listen to advice. She spends money on all sorts of nonsense. No, her parents are unhappy, but they're afraid to complain openly. Yes, I think in another month or two she'll realize for herself that she can't cope. I press myself against the wall, trying to hear more. "You're right, Dr. Brooks. It would be better if she went to your clinic. Dentistry is a stable profession, unlike these pedagogical experiments." My heart skips a beat. Dr. Brooks, my father. Yes, I'm continuing to collect complaints. In a few more weeks, the board of directors will begin to doubt her competence. I quietly return to my office and sit down at my desk, trying to make sense of what I've heard. My own father has conspired with David against me. He wasn't just offering advice, he was actively undermining my work. 15 minutes later, David walks past my office. The light is on, but he doesn't look inside, probably thinking I forgot to turn it off. The next morning, I make a decision. If my father wants war, he'll get it, but not the kind he's expecting. I call Robert Harper. Mr. Harper, I have a request. Can we meet? There are some issues that need your attention. Of course, Wendy. What's going on? It's better to talk in person. It's a delicate matter. We agree to meet at his office on Friday at 2 o'clock. In the meantime, I prepare the documents. I collect all of David's emails criticizing my decisions, write down the dates and times of his strange questions about the budget, and analyze which parent complaints he passed on, even though no parent actually complained. On Thursday evening, the father calls again. Wendy, I heard you're having some problems at work. Who told you that? Just rumors. People say the parents are unhappy with the changes. What people, Dad? Well, acquaintances. Wendy, maybe you should slow down a bit. Don't try to change everything at once? Interesting. Why are you suddenly so interested in my problems? You used to say that my job wasn't serious. Pause. I've always been concerned about your future. Concerned? Or trying to control it? What do you mean? Nothing in particular. I'm just curious where you got such detailed information about my work. After the conversation, I am finally convinced that I am right. My father doesn't just give advice. He actively interferes in my work, hoping that I will fail and return to a normal career in medicine. But he underestimated me. I am no longer the submissive girl who silently endured his contempt at the family table. Friday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Robert Harper's office is in the city center on the 30th floor of a skyscraper. Panoramic windows offer a view of the entire city. Sitting at a huge oak table is the man who changed my life. Go ahead, Wendy. What's bothering you? I explain the whole situation, from David's behavior to my father's strange phone calls. I show him the documents I've collected and tell him about the conversation I overheard. Harper listens attentively, occasionally asking clarifying questions. I understand. He finally says, the situation is indeed unpleasant. But tell me, how do you plan to resolve it? I want to fire David. He is openly sabotaging my work. And your father? I'm silent for a few seconds. I'll deal with my father myself. Wendy, I can support the decision to fire your deputy if you have sufficient evidence of his unprofessional behavior. But remember, managing people means not only punishing, but also motivating and finding compromises. Some people don't deserve compromises. He smiles. Maybe, but are you sure you're ready for the consequences? Firing the deputy director, conflict with my father, these are serious challenges. I'm ready. And I really was ready. Finally ready to fight for myself and my job. The Monday after my conversation with Harper begins with trouble. At 8 in the morning, I get a call from the education inspector. Miss Brooks, we have received a complaint about your institution. Can we come by today to investigate? Of course. Can you tell me the nature of the complaint? Violation of educational standards, misuse of funds, creation of unsafe conditions for children. My heart skips a beat. These are serious allegations that could lead to the closure of the kindergarten and the revocation of its license. Who filed the complaint? Anonymous, but very detailed. An hour later, the inspection commission arrives. 3 people with folders and notebooks. They carefully inspect the premises, check documents, and talk to the staff. I accompany them, trying to remain calm. Are these interactive whiteboards certified for use in preschools? Asks the chief inspector, pointing to the new equipment. Yes, here are the documents. And are these teaching materials part of the approved curriculum? They were developed by me as a supplement to the standard curriculum. I have permission for experimental activities. This goes on for 3 hours. The inspectors nitpick every detail, looking for violations where there are none. Finally, they are ready to leave. The preliminary conclusions will be ready in a week, says the chief inspector. So far, we have not found any serious violations, but there are questions about the paperwork. As they drive away, I realize that this is only the beginning. Someone has carefully prepared this attack, gathering any grounds for criticism. In the evening, David walks into my office with a barely concealed smile of satisfaction. I heard we had an inspection. I hope everything is okay? Everything is fine, David. Thanks for your concern. I'm just worried. Anonymous complaints are always unpleasant. Someone is clearly unhappy with the changes. I wonder who it could be. He shrugs his shoulders guiltily. Hard to say. Maybe one of the parents? The next day, the problems multiply. 3 parents come in with complaints about the too difficult program for their children. A woman from accounting finds errors in the grant expense reports. The supplier of teaching materials suddenly announces a delay in delivery. But the worst thing is the rumors. They spread quickly and take on increasingly absurd forms. Allegedly, I am spending grant money on personal needs. Allegedly, I am forcing children to study programs that are unsuitable for their age. Allegedly, I am planning to lay off half the staff. Mrs. Jenkins, the teacher of my former group, approaches me in the hallway. Wendy, what's going on? Parents are asking strange questions about our methods. What questions? Whether we are harming children with new technologies, whether we are experimenting on them. Someone told Mrs. Anderson that you're using the children as guinea pigs. I clench my fists. This is no longer just sabotage, it's a deliberate campaign to discredit us. Who's telling the parents these things? I don't know for sure. But the rumors always start after conversations with Mr. Coleman. That same evening, I decide to conduct my own investigation. I stay at the nursery after work and search David's office. He always leaves his computer unlocked, either out of overconfidence or carelessness. In his email, I find what I'm looking for, correspondence with a parent. Dr. Brooks, as we agreed, I am collecting negative feedback about Wendy's work. So far, I have complaints from 3 families. The inspection did not go as well as I had hoped, but the paperwork really is open to criticism. His father's reply arrives 2 hours later. David, we need to increase the pressure. I will talk to the chairman of the board of directors. We have patients in common. Wendy needs to understand that management is not her job. I have a place for her at the clinic. The next letter from David. Mrs. Thornton called, wondering what was going on. It seems she doesn't like what's happening to her kindergarten. Maybe we should get her involved. No, Margaret is too fond of Wendy. It's better to focus on the parents and the Board of Education. I can arrange a few more complaints through my contacts. I print the letters and send copies to myself by email. Now I have proof. The next morning, I call my father. Dad, we need to talk. Of course, sweetheart. How are you? In person. Can you come to my kindergarten after work? What happened? We'll see each other and talk. At 6 p.m, he arrives. He looks calm, even a little concerned. He enters my office and sits down in the visitor's chair. Well, tell me, what's bothering you? I place a stack of printed letters in front of him. Read them. He takes the first few sheets and I see his expression change. First surprise, then confusion, and finally irritation. Where did you get these? It doesn't matter. What matters is it true? He remains silent, turning the pages. Answer me, Dad. Did you really conspire with David against me? Wendy, you don't understand. What don't I understand? That my own father is trying to ruin my career. He stands up and starts pacing around the office. I didn't want to ruin you. I wanted to save you. Save me? From what? From this nonsense. Wendy, you are a talented, intelligent woman. You could be a great dentist, have a stable income, respect in society. Instead, you're playing with children. Playing? Dad, I'm changing these children's lives. You're kidding yourself. This grant is a fluke. What will happen when the money runs out? What will happen in 5 years? You'll be an old maid with a pittance salary in a provincial kindergarten. I stand up, leaning my hands on the table. So it's better to be unhappy in your clinic? It's better to be secure and have a future. Whose future? Mine or yours? He stops, looking at me in surprise. What do you mean? I mean that you don't need a dentist daughter. You need confirmation that you're a good father, that all your children are successful in medicine like you. That's absurd. Absurd? Dad, you've never been interested in what makes me happy, only in what makes you look good. He sits back in his chair, suddenly looking older. Wendy, I did it for you. No, you did it for yourself. And now that I've finally found my path, you're trying to knock me off it. Your path? You call this a path? Yes. This kindergarten under my leadership will be one of the best in the state. Children that no one wanted to teach are now reading and counting. Parents are seeing progress in their children for the first time. And what about you? Your personal life? Are you going to devote everything to other people's children and be left alone? It's my choice. A bad choice. We yell at each other, and I suddenly realize that it's pointless. He'll never understand. For him, success is only about money, status, and social approval. He can't comprehend that it's possible to be happy helping children grow and develop. Gurkhad, I say quietly, tomorrow I'm firing David. And if you interfere with my work again, I'll sue you for harassment. Wendy, don't be foolish. Go, Dad, just go. He gets up and takes his keys from the table. You'll regret this. Maybe. But it will be my regret, not yours. When he leaves, I sit down at the table and cry. Not out of regret, but out of relief. Finally, everything has been said out loud. The next morning, I call David into my office. David, here's your letter of dismissal. You have 2 weeks to find a new job. He turns pale. On what grounds? Sabotage of management, dissemination of false information, breach of confidentiality. You can't prove that. I show him the printouts of the correspondence. I can. And if you try to appeal this decision, I will forward copies to the Department of Education. I think they'll be interested to know who was actually making those anonymous complaints. He grabs the papers, looks them over, and realizes he's lost. Your father won't let this go. My father no longer interferes in my affairs. An hour after his dismissal, my mother calls me. Wendy, what have you done? Dad came home all red in the face, saying you insulted him. Mom, I just put an end to our relationship. What do you mean, put an end to it? He's your father. He's a man who tried to destroy my job. He wanted to help you. He wanted to control me. And you know it. Pause. Sweetheart, come home. We'll talk calmly and figure everything out. No, Mom, I won't come until he apologizes. But family is people who support each other, not those who trip you up. Wendy, you can't break off relations with your father because of some job. It's not because of the job. It's about self-respect. That evening, Matthew calls me. Wendy, what's going on? Dad says you accused him of conspiring against you. I didn't accuse him. I proved it. That's ridiculous. Why would he conspire against you? Ask him. I did. He says he was just worried about your future. Matthew, you've always been on his side. Always. Even when he humiliated me, you kept quiet. I didn't want to interfere. Exactly. You didn't want to interfere when I was suffering. But now you want to when he's uncomfortable. Wendy, we're family. No, Matthew. You're family. I'm just the daughter who didn't live up to expectations. A month later, my mom comes to visit me at the nursery. She looks tired, aged. Sweetheart, how long will this last? What exactly? This hostility. Dad is sad, even though he won't admit it. He knows what he has to do. Ask for forgiveness? For starters. But he's your father. He loves you. Mom, love is not control. Love is acceptance. She sits down in an armchair and looks at the photos of the children on the wall. You've become so confident. I've become myself. What if you're wrong? What if Dad really wanted the best? Then he could have just told me about his concerns, instead of bribing employees and writing anonymous complaints. Mom gets up and hugs me. I hope you'll make up someday. Me too, Mom, but on my terms. When she leaves, I'm alone in the office. It's getting dark outside, and I'm thinking about how, for the first time in my life, I feel free. Painful, but free. The year flew by unnoticed. Sitting at my desk in the Sunny Rays kindergarten, I flip through the report for the past quarter. The numbers impress even me. 97% of parents are satisfied with the educational program, and 85% of children show above-average results on school readiness tests. Special children, such as Sophia, are showing progress that experts call revolutionary. Sophia now reads simple books and solves math problems for 7-year-olds, even though she is only 5. Yesterday, her mother cried at the parent-teacher conference as she recounted how her daughter said, "I love you," to her, in a complete sentence for the first time. I have a new assistant, Rebecca Miller, a young woman with a master's degree in early childhood education. Unlike David, she doesn't try to undermine me, but really helps to develop the kindergarten. Together, we have developed a methodology that combines traditional pedagogical principles with innovative technologies. Our kindergarten has become a testing ground for 3 state universities. Students do their internships with us, and teachers study our methods for implementation in other institutions. Last month, we were visited by a delegation from 2 other states. The phone rings. The display shows a number I haven't seen in almost a year. Hello? Wendy, this is Dr. Wimpston from St. Thomas University. Can we meet? I have a proposal that may interest you. St. Thomas University is one of the most prestigious in the state. I can't imagine why the president would call me personally. Of course. When is convenient for you? Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, if possible, in my office. The next day I drive to the university, trying to guess what it's about. The administration building is impressive. Gothic style, high ceilings, portraits of distinguished alumni on the walls. Dr. Wimpston is a woman in her mid-50s, gray-haired, elegant, with intelligent eyes. She meets me in a spacious office overlooking the university park. Wendy, thank you for taking the time. I've been following your work for several months. Following? Our Faculty of Education works closely with preschools in the region. Your kindergarten has become legendary. The methods you have developed are discussed at scientific conferences. I didn't know that. Wendy, we have a vacancy for the position of Vice Rector for Preschool and Primary Education. Would you like to consider it? I almost dropped my coffee cup. Excuse me? We are looking for someone who combines practical experience with innovative thinking. Someone who can not only teach future educators, but also show them real-life examples of successful work. But I don't have a doctorate. You have something better. Results. In 1 year, you turned an ordinary kindergarten into a center of excellence. That's worth more than any degree. She describes the responsibilities: heading the Department of Preschool Education, developing new educational programs, coordinating student internships, and conducting research. The salary will be 3 times your current salary, plus benefits, opportunities for professional development, research grants. I listen and can't believe it. A year ago, my father called me a nanny, and now I'm being offered a management position at a prestigious university. I need time to think. Of course, but not too long. The new semester starts in 2 months. On the way home, I think about the offer. It's an incredible opportunity that I never even dreamed of. But at the same time, it means leaving the kindergarten, the children, and the team I've built. In the evening, I call Robert Harper. Mr. Harper, there's something you need to know. I tell him about the university offer. He is silent for a long time. Wendy, this is a fantastic opportunity. You deserve it. But the kindergarten. The kindergarten will continue to operate. You have created a system that does not depend on one person. Rebecca is perfectly capable of running it. What about the grant? The grant was given to the kindergarten, not to you personally. The money will stay here, but I'm sure the university will help you get new funding for research projects. A week later, I make my decision. Yes, I will go to university, but before I do, I want to finish everything I started at the nursery. The next 6 weeks are spent preparing for the handover. I teach Rebecca all the ins and outs of management and help her build relationships with parents and staff. Together, we finish developing a methodological guide, which is planned to be published by the university press. The day before my departure, we organize a farewell party. Parents, children, and teachers from the university come. Sophia reads a poem she wrote herself about how important it is to learn and not be afraid to be different. Her grandfather, Robert Harper, wipes his eyes with a handkerchief. "Wendy," he says in his speech, "a year ago I saw a talented teacher. Today I see a leader who will change the education system." My family is not among the guests. My mother called and asked if she could come, but I said I wasn't ready yet. Matthew sent a greeting card. No word from my father. The next day, I officially start working at the university. My office is on the 5th floor of the education department. It's big, bright, and has a view of the campus. I hang photos of the children from the kindergarten on the wall and place a figurine that Sophia made for me on the table. The first few weeks are spent learning about the structure of the faculty, getting to know the teachers, and planning new courses. I am developing a program called Inclusive Preschool Education, which will teach students how to work with children with special needs. I also conduct seminars for practicing teachers, sharing my experience of working in kindergarten. At first, the students treat me with caution. I am too young, I don't have a doctorate, I came from practice. But when I show them videos from my work in the kindergarten and give specific examples, their distrust turns to interest. "Professor Brooks," a student asks after the lecture, "how did you get a child with autism to start communicating?" I didn't force her. I created conditions in which she wanted to communicate. 3 months later, I am invited to speak at a national conference for teachers. My report, Mathematics for All, Inclusive Methods of Preschool Education, receives positive reviews. Several universities offer to collaborate. Late in the evening after the conference, my mother calls me. "Sweetheart, how are you?" "I'm fine, Mom. I'm working, teaching students. I saw you on TV. They showed a story about the conference. You looked so beautiful, so confident." "Thank you." Pause. "Wendy, Dad wants to talk to you." My heart skips a beat. A year of silence. "Is he there?" "Yes." "Can I give him the phone?" I hesitate for a long time. "Okay." I hear my mom handing him the phone, then a familiar voice. "Wendy." "Hi, Dad. I saw that story about your conference." Silence. "You looked professional." "Thank you." "Wendy, I want to apologize." The words I've been waiting for a year, but for some reason, they don't make me feel triumphant, just tired. For what exactly? For not believing in you. For trying to interfere. Is that all? What else? Dad, you didn't just not believe in me. You actively interfered. I thought I was doing what was best. Best for whom? For me or for yourself? A long pause. Probably for myself. He admits it for the first time. "Wendy, can we try to start over?" "No, we can't. We can try to build a new relationship, but it will be different." "I understand." "I doubt it." "Then help me understand." This is also the first time. He had never asked for help before. "Come visit me at university. See what I do. Not as a father who knows what's best for his daughter, but as a person who wants to understand another person." "Okay. When?" "Next Thursday at 2. I have a lecture for my students." A week later, he arrives. He sits in the back row of the auditorium listening to my lecture on the development of logical thinking in preschoolers. I talk about Sophia, about other children, and show the results of my research. After the lecture, the students ask questions. Some ask about the future of inclusive education, others about career opportunities in this field. I answer confidently and see something new in my father's eyes: respect. When the auditorium empties, he approaches the podium. Now I understand. What exactly? Why you chose this path. You really change people's lives. Yes, and I thought you were just playing around. I know. We go to my office, drink coffee, talk. For the first time in many years, we talk like adults, not like a father and his disobedient daughter. Wendy, I'm proud of you. Thank you. But it's more important to me that you respect me. I do. Then never try to control my life again. I won't. I look into his eyes and realize that he means what he says. The year has changed not only me, but him as well. Dad, I'm ready to rebuild our relationship, but on equal terms. I'm a grown woman with my own views and plans. I understand. And if you try to control me again, I won't, I promise. We hug. It's our first hug in a year. It doesn't erase all the hurt, but it gives me hope for the future. A month later, our family gathers around the table again, but now it's a different family. My father asks about my work. He's genuinely interested, not looking for reasons to criticize. My mother is less nervous because there is no tension between us. Matthew asks me professional questions for the first time, consulting me about working with children who have psychological problems. My relationship with my father has really changed. We have become closer, but at the same time, more distant. I no longer seek his approval, and he no longer tries to educate me. It is a healthy relationship between adults, not a toxic relationship between a tyrant and a victim. Sitting in my office late at night, I think about the path I have traveled, from nanny to vice rector, from a submissive daughter to an independent woman, from a person who is afraid of conflict to a leader who is not afraid to stand up for her beliefs. On the table is a letter from Sophia. She's already going to school and doing very well. She writes that she wants to become a teacher, like Miss Wendy. Next to it is an invitation to a conference in Europe, where I am to give a presentation on innovative methods of preschool education. Tomorrow I have a meeting with the State Minister of Education. He wants to discuss the possibility of implementing our methods in all preschools in the region. This could be a revolution in education. I look out the window at the city at night and smile. Finally, I know who I am and what I want, and no one can convince me otherwise.